Okay, class, today we're going to be talking about angle relationships. And really today it's just a whole bunch of vocabulary. Okay, so first off, what is an angle? Now you probably know this already, but we're going to go ahead and talk about it anyways. And what it is it's a figure formed by two rays. With a common endpoint. So for example, if I have call this A. Okay, so this is an angle. I have two rays and they have a common endpoint. Okay, next vocabulary word, vertex. A vertex is the common endpoint. Okay, that is the vertex. So in the angle above, A is the vertex. Okay, so real quick, little notation here. An angle is named in three different ways. Okay, so the first way is by the vertex and a point on each ray. So if I have this angle, let's call this T, E, and A, okay, this could be called angle. So that symbol means angle. It could be angle of T, E, A, or angle A, E, T. Notice I have the vertex in the middle each time. It could be called by just its vertex, so angle E, and last but not least, if there's a number in it, it could be angle 1. So those are the ways that you can name it angle. You can name it by points on either end with the vertex in the middle, by just the vertex, or by a number inside it. Okay, so take out the foldable that you made in the last video. We're not going to glue it in just yet. We're going to write on it first. Okay, so let me get a smaller pen. So the first thing we're going to write on is this green part. Now, you probably have learned this already, but in case you haven't, if there's an angle with a measure that's less than 90, it's called an acute angle. Acute angle is an angle whose measure is less than 90. An acute angle, an angle whose measure is less than 90. Okay, go ahead and fold that down. Can you guess what the next one is? It is a 90-degree angle. What do we call those? We call those right angles. A right angle is an angle whose measure is 90 degrees. So acute, we have less than 90. A right angle we have is 90. And the next one would be an obtuse angle. An obtuse angle. An angle. Whose measure is greater than 90 degrees. Okay? And you might think, okay, we've covered less than 90, we've covered 90, we've covered greater than 90. Well, there is actually one more, and that would be a straight angle. A straight angle measures, or is a straight line that measures 180 degrees. Okay, so we have our 4 different types of angles, and we're just going to go ahead and glue them in to the top of your next page over here. I'm going to use tape, make it go by just a little bit quicker. It should fit in your notebook. It fit in mine. If you need to trim up the pink a little bit, you can. Okay, so one of the things we want to talk about are congruent angles. Yeah, I spelled that right. Congruent angles. Congruent means they're the same. So congruent angles are angles that have the same measure. Okay. Our next vocabulary word, here, let me look at it. Okay. Vertical. Vertical angles are 2 angles that are opposite angles formed by an intersection. Oh, so they are opposite angles formed by an intersection. Okay, vertical angles, they are congruent. Meaning they have the same measure, they are the same. So if I have this situation going on, let's say this is measure angle 1, 2, 3, and 4. Angle 1 is congruent, and that's the symbol we use. Here, let's write that down up here. This is our symbol for congruent. It's congruent to angle 3. And y'all know me, I like the color code, so 1 is the same as 3. Well, if you look here, when we have this, we have 2 sets of vertical angles. We have 1 and 3, and we also have 4 and 2, so I know angle 4 is congruent to angle 2. They have the same measure. Okay, and now we have just one more vocabulary word. I ran out of room, so I'm going to turn the page. The last vocabulary word is adjacent. Now, adjacent is really just a fancy word for next to each other. Two angles next to each other at an intersection. When you have adjacent angles, so once again, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Adjacent angles next to each other like 1 and 2. Well, if you notice, they form a straight angle. Well, what do we know about straight angles? Straight angles measure 180 degrees, which means if you have adjacent angles, then they add up to 180 degrees. So in every angle has, when you have an intersection like this, has two adjacent angles. So angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent. Angle 2 and angle 3 are adjacent. Angle 3 and angle 4 and angle 4 and angle 1 are all adjacent angles. Okay, so now take out the number 1 example on that sheet of paper you picked up when you came into class today. Go ahead and glue that down. And what it wants us to do is it says name the angle shown at the right, then classified as acute, right, obtuse, or straight. Now we've talked about multiple ways to name an angle, so I'm just going to show all of them, and then so you know, and then when you're naming it, you can just pick one. So the first way we could name it, we could name it as angle X, Y, Z.